Hello to everyone. Thank you for joining Recruiters Connection Train and Gain webinar. My name is Pat O'Connor, and I am one of the principals of Recruiters Connection. We are excited to have Neil Leibowitz back doing another webinar for us. I think his topic, How to Never Negotiate Perm Fees Again, is an awesome one. Just to tell you a little bit about Neil, he is the founder of Dynamic Sale, which is a learning, coaching, and development company, a company you should all get to know. Neil has worked within the recruiting industry for over 20 years. So with that combination, he is sure to give us some great tips on how to work through never to negotiate perm fees again. Recruiters Connection hopes you enjoy this one. And now over to you, Neil.
Thank you very, very kindly. Hi, everyone. Another exciting webinar. And you can hear me fine, Pat and Susan?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. All right, well, we're going to have an exciting hour together. Before we start, I definitely wanted to thank Recruiters Connection to allow me to present. And we have a dual audience, as always, of some of my subscribers from my free training and a lot of the Recruiters Connection people. And Recruiters Connection is great as, we all believe in education, and this is key. And Recruiters Connection have been doing bi-monthly webinars. So any of my listeners, I urge you to, make sure you keep in touch with Recruiters Connection. The best way to do it for everyone is just take your time, make sure that you check out that your company info is right at Recruiters Connection. So just go to www.recruitersconnection.com. It's free. It's the best service out there for this. And, yeah, they have a bunch of great upgrade things if you want to do some special things. But make sure that your listing is good and that you can also get on all of their webinars. All right, so we're going to get on to it. For those of you who don't know me, I am actually, I've been in the industry for over 20 years. That's a horrible picture of me, by the way, too close. I'm the ex-global president for Adecco. I was actually president and COO of Agilon Professional Staffing for about 6 years. And look, we do these for free for a lot of reasons. Recruiters Connection is very into the education. I do it. But, I do it for a lot of reasons. For one, I'd love everyone on there who is not part of my free training. You could see the link right there. Please sign up at www.thedynamicsale.com. I actually have a video on this topic that's in there, not as comprehensive as this, of course. I've got some great ebooks and awesome stuff. Please sign up. It's free, and there's nothing to it. If you would like this handout, this PDF, all I ask you to do is sign up for the free training. That's all I ask. You can opt out at any time, and then send me an email to send you the PDF. And once you're registered, I'll go ahead and send that to you. But I do it for the exposure. I've used the Internet for my business from day one. I had massive connections all over the recruiting world within Adecco and Agilon and some of the conferences, but I really didn't know, all of you people out there. So this is a great way, and frankly, it's just a commercial, which is all content, where I get to put my money where my mouth is, so to speak, where you just get to see great stuff. And I think you're going to be surprised because this is 95% content and really, really good stuff. You're not coming in here and sitting in for a very long commercial, and I'm sure you've been through them. I'm going to pitch and I'm going to show you a great product that I'm going to give for free later on LinkedIn. That's about the only commercial I'm going to give you. And I'd love you to sign up for my stuff because I've got great boot camps. I've got live. I've got virtual stuff. And it's all really super awesome. And this is just one of the topics that we actually cover in the boot camp. So, okay, enough of that. Like I said, I'll get the other maybe 2 minutes of commercial, and we're on to it right now. So let's get going. Now, I love this topic because negotiations and perm fees always sort of make me laugh. And what I want to get across to you is there really isn't anything, as a before-the-fact negotiation when it comes to perm fees. I'm not saying you don't need to use negotiation tactics, and I'm not suggesting that, you don't try to negotiate high fees. But my point is, what you need to get across is that this is a contingency business. Now, look, I know you all know that. Don't worry. This will be provocative, and this is going to give you some really good tips. This session has been paramount for a lot of people that I've worked with where they say it has changed their desk. So I want you to get the concept. You need to believe in your heart and soul that we are not negotiating anything on a permanent basis ahead of time. This is contingency. Now, if this were a boot camp, I would do some role plays right now. And I would ask people, hey, so tell me, when someone says they're using an ad first, or when someone says, hey, they're using an agency at only 10% first, what do you say? And normally I get some really bad closes. Sometimes I get some really good points. And you could still use all of your great stuff. So I'm not suggesting that you throw out what has worked for you. What I'm going to give you is a foundation to be able to utilize those points and add on to it. But often I'll hear, hey, well, don't worry, you only pay a fee if you hire a person. Or, hey, why don't you use us to benchmark the people through your ad? Which, again, is a good point, but it's not really convincing. Or, hey, we're contingency, and we use that word a lot. We're contingency, so you have nothing to lose, right? Now, here's the thing. Most recruiters, and I'm telling you this from all of my training, both as president and in the field and as a professional trainer for the last year, most of us don't know what contingency really means. And I'm going to spend some time helping you sell this to the client. But you need to know how to sell that before they can ever get it. Okay? So this is the key. And I'm going to really help you with a lot of these key areas. Now, look, here's the basic element of all this. Think about what our business is. On a perm basis, this is different from temp negotiations. On a perm basis, the essence is, and you'll actually say this to the client, the only way, forget about saying, oh, we're contingency or benchmark, but what you'll want to say is, listen, I hear what you're saying basically, but you want to tell them it doesn't make much sense. Because the only way that they're going to pay a fee, the only way they will pay a higher fee, the only way that they're going to pay a fee as opposed to using a job board, right, or any other sort of ad, the only way is, and look at the wording here, if and only if they want to. Do you get that? That's why it's headed this way. If and only if they want to. They want to. Do you get that? This is really where you start, and then we're going to explain it more. Now, I'm going to take upwards of an hour explaining it to you, giving you different closes, giving you different verbiage, giving you different analogies. But that's the concept that you want to basically leave with. That's what you want to start with, and that's what you want to end with. It doesn't make any sense not to use us versus a job board, does it? Sure, you want to save money with the job board. I don't blame you. You should. Use the job board. It's much cheaper. I would be doing that too. In fact, I do that in my business if I'm an owner and a manager. But they should also see our people, because the only way you're going to end up paying a fee to us, you're going to continue to see the job board people. The only way you'll end up doing it is if and only if you want to pay us a fee, right? Because what happens if they don't want to? If they don't want to, they won't. If they don't think that our candidate justifies the fee to the point where they actually are happy that they said yes to you, where they actually want to, then the deal will never happen. So that's the basic premise that you need to get across. And literally, the way I just told you is the way I would train people and the way I would be on the phone with the clients all the time. Now, they don't get it just at that first sentence, so we're going to elaborate a bit. Now, if we have time at the end, I'll role play some of this for you, and I'm sure we will, and I'll do it throughout the session so you can, say to yourself, gee, Neil, this is great, but you're taking an hour to explain it to us. I don't get an hour on the phone with my client, and I know that. You could get this across in 45 seconds to a minute, or in an ongoing dialogue about something like this, in a couple of minutes you can get everything across. But I want you to just, for one, just buy into your gut that they are nuts. The conviction here is critical. That's why you're going to this session. That's why you're going to listen to this. That's why you're going to work on mastering this with some bullet points, and I'll share that stuff with you, so that when you're on the phone, you're not going to worry about a script, but you're going to make sure you get across all the great points. Because fee negotiation is unbelievable what it can do for your desk. There's a lot of work to getting people to accept jobs and to recruiting and to marketing. But once you're on the phone and you can, raise your fee, we'll get into it a bit later. It can raise your billings and your revenues for your company significantly. Okay? So again, the premise is, listen, this is nuts for them not to do it. The only way this is going to end up being an issue is if they want to pay it to us. So, okay, think about it. And here's the key points. We are the ones that will take all of the risk, not you, not them, not the client. We take all of the risk if we charge a higher fee. Why is that? We're the ones who spend all of the time on this, right? We're not guaranteed any money. Hey, that's what contingency is. So we lose if we're overpriced. How do we lose? Because if indeed we're overpriced, if indeed we're doing all this work, and if indeed the lion's share of the time our clients don't end up wanting to pay us, they'll never hire our people, ever. Who would ever hire someone, all things being equal, where they have a choice between candidates? Ours are the same as everyone else's, but our fees are more. We'll never make a deal. They don't have to worry about paying more. They're telling you no because they want to save money. The point is they can't know now, right? And they might not want to save money. They might want to spend more money on our candidate. And the only way at the end of the day that they will is if they want to, right? So this isn't a contract. This isn't like normal negotiations, and that's how most of your clients look at it. All this is a discussion to learn more, right, and to make an educated decision. Learn more, and then you make the call. And again, your call, you're only going to pay it if you want to. Our fee really is not relevant right now, right? And when I say that, I mean versus the job board, if we're more or less expensive than other agencies, whether they have an internal referral and they want to see how that goes first, or they have an outside no-fee candidate, it's irrelevant right now because, again, they will only pay this if and only if they want to, right? So think about this. I already mentioned, you know, that we're the ones who take all the risk. But I'm going to go be very provocative, and I want you to tell this to your clients. We can never be overpriced. We can never, ever, ever be overpriced in the contingency business. Now, in a live seminar, I'm going to ask people to explain this to me and to try to sell it better, and most don't quite get it. Every once in a while, someone figures out where I'm going with this. But I bet you can figure it out. We can never, ever, never, I'm saying it's impossible to be overpriced, right? Because the customer is the one that decides if they want to pay this price, right? So they decide the price that they want to pay for the candidate. So by definition, we can't be overpriced because you will never pay that price. They will go to their next best alternative. If we are overpriced, then that's our issue. We just don't make deals. But from their perspective, they never have to worry about us being overpriced. We certainly have to deliver something more. Right now, I will get some people that say, well, Neil, this is putting a lot of pressure on us. But my answer is, my goodness, does it? I don't care what your fee is, 15%, 22%, 20%, 24, 25, 28, 30, 35. You always have to give them the better candidate than the competition and then the job boards and the freebies, always, okay? So think about if they say no now, think about what they're saying, right? If what they fear now is true, that's the second bullet, okay? If what they fear is true, you know, for example, that we're overpriced, okay, then, okay, they're never going to hire a person later. So don't worry about it is the point. The only reason to say no now is you fear that we're going to be overpriced, right? But what if they're wrong now? What if they're wrong about saying no to you? What if, just hypothetically speaking, Mr. Client, you just agree to see my people, and yes, I'm overpriced from your mind. I'm more expensive, let's say, than the others, or a lot more than your job board or freebie, right? What if it ends up you meet that person and you call me up and you're dying to see whether they're going to accept the job? This is the one that you want. You've done all the analysis and you decided you want to pay our $15,000 fee, or you want to pay $8,000 or $6,000 or $4,000 more dollars than the other agency because you've looked at it all and you've decided that's what you want to do. You'll be thrilled that you said yes now, right? Again, there's nothing. All they can do is lose right now. And this isn't clever semantics. Right? This isn't Neil being really witty. This is the truth. I lived this when I was a manager in the business. They are nuts. I would always see people through an agency, even the expensive ones. Granted, the more expensive you are over the market, if you're not doing a better job on the prep and taking the job order and sourcing good candidates, you know, you're not going to make the placement anyway. Right? But it makes no sense for them to say no now because you're never going to pay this price anyway. I'm just going to end up wasting a little bit of your time, but obviously I can't be in the business of doing that, right? But if you're making a mistake now, or boy, some of my clients were about to make a mistake, and thank goodness they said yes because this is the person they ended up wanting to pay the fee for. They were happy. So, basically they have nothing to lose. And look, we understand that our clients want to, quote unquote, negotiate this price. They want to get the lowest that they can. But what are they really saying to you? Think about what they're saying if they won't agree. What they're saying is, I fear that you might be right. And look, I'll tell this to them. They fear that you might be right, right? And again, if we're right, they're going to be happy that they said yes. If we're wrong, they still won't care because they're not going to spend any money. So this is some verbiage, but I'm going to keep on giving you a whole bunch of examples and some sound bites and some things to get this across. As I said, the conviction element is key. Conviction in sales is key. You must believe from your heart of hearts, and you will, when you really think about this and you really get it, that they are crazy and they are nuts. And when I would be on the phone, you would hear in my voice, I wouldn't say you're crazy, but you would hear in my voice that it is nuts not to do it. I would do it. Almost anyone smart would do it. You got to do it. Okay? So I mentioned before that we lose if we're wrong, right? Well, as I said, nobody's going to hire our people ever, ever, if we charge more and they're not worth it, right? I'll mention, look, we'd go out of business, right? If you're a fast-growing company or a well-known company or anything, or you've been around a while, you can let them know, obviously, that isn't the case, okay? So, I mean, again, we would be spending hours and hours and hours, week after week, month after month, quarter after quarter doing this only to always lose to lower fees. The only way we can ever get this, because it's this crazy thing called contingency, is if we actually deliver something of value that people want, they want to pay that money for, right? We know they're always going to hire the same candidate at 25% if we're charging 30%. We know that. Right? So again, they never have to worry about us being overpriced. We also know if we tell them this and we end up wasting their time, that they'll never work with us again, nor would any of us, of our other clients, okay? Now here's the thing. We never promise that our person's going to be better. Sometimes we lose deals. We just mentioned that most of the time our people are better, right? Which is what you say anyway when you're on the phone with your clients. Okay, now, by the way, we will take questions at the end. If you do have them, and I forgot to mention this, feel free to start typing them in. Pat or Susan, if you want to look at them, you can interrupt if it's prevalent to what I'm talking about. If not, we'll cover them at the end, okay? So we'll make sure that we get to them, okay? Now, look, basically there's an old close that's been in sales forever. I think it's brilliant in our business because it works with contingency, and it's called the business decision close. And it basically consists of 3 steps. I don't care how you say it, but you just sort of want to get this down. But the essence is, look, how is any business decision ever made? Quite simply, there's 3 steps. You gather information, then you analyze this information, and then you make the decision, right? That's a business decision. Got to gather info, then we look at this information and we analyze it, and then we make the decision. The key words, and it's why I capitalized it here, then make the decision. So what is happening in our crazy world of contingency, and I'm going to show you that there's virtually no other businesses like ours in the world, even though you think there aren't. Very few that have our sort of contingency model. Real estate's about the only one I could think of for renting. For renting, right? Okay, so what are they doing? Basically, they're saying that they're making the decision right now. They're going to step 3. But what do they need to do first? All we're asking them to do is gather the information. By seeing our people versus the job board versus the other agency is for free because we don't charge hourly. We don't charge an upfront amount on contingency. Again, if you're a retainer, then all they're doing is paying for that upfront piece, right? But again, most of this is for contingency, right? So we're asking them to gather the information and then analyze it. Then you make the call. Then you make the call. Then you'll know whether we're too expensive or not. And you have nothing to lose other than the time that you spend interviewing the people, which we could certainly explain how that's never a waste of time, when they can maybe get the candidates for free down the road, when this candidate might refer someone to them for free. It's always great to network with great people, right? For sure. And we're always going to send them really good people. So this is another essence, and I alluded to it in the beginning when I said we're just asking them to make a right, educated decision. Gather the info, then analyze it, then make the decision. All we're asking them to do is put off what they're saying now until they see the people. Okay, just put it off, right? Because you'll either want to and be glad you said yes now, right? Or you'll say no and nothing lost other than the time that you spent with the person, okay? So that's the premise right there, okay? All right. Well, let's say you're still not buying it, or you're not convinced enough, or you need to convince your client more, okay? So I'm going to give you more ammo, more examples, more stories, right? So you know that they should at least gather this information. So here's the thing. Basically, think about what you're doing with a fee, okay, in any of the examples that I mentioned, through an ad, job board, higher than another firm. You're asking them to simply first interview the people to decide if they're worth maybe $4,000, $5,000, $8,000, whatever it is, X $1,000 more. That's all that you're asking them to do. Now, for some reason, when it comes to our fees, so many people are against doing this. But what I want you to point out to them, and this is very helpful to convince them, think about it, and I'm going to get rid of the slide right now for a second. When is it, and I want you to think, when is it that they've done exactly this? When in the sales process, in the buying process, in the job order, you name it, when in the process have they agreed to the concept of it only makes sense to gather this information first, analyze it, then decide whether they're worth $5,000 more? All right? Hopefully many of you came up with it. But they agreed to do this when they gave you the job order or when they created the job order for the job board, right? Doesn't 98% of all jobs have a salary range? Let's use 30 to 40. Put 50 to 60 or 80 to 90 or 120 to 150, whatever you want there. But why do they come up with salary ranges? And I want you to explain this to your client because this is when the light bulb typically goes off. What's the thought process behind a salary range? Do they want to pay $40,000? No. They give us 30 to 40 because what they say is, we think we might be able to get people for $30,000 that can do this job. We don't want someone making 22. That's not going to be right. But we think if we get lucky, all the stars aligned, we might be able to save some money and get people on the low end or 30. However, we know that there might be people that are earning $5,000 or $10,000 more, and we want to see them too. We don't want to eliminate them at this stage. This would be the equivalent, by not using your fee, of them saying, I only want to look at $30,000 candidates, even though we very well might want to go to 40. They've learned that it's worth it to look at a range of candidates, to see their value, to see what salary they're looking for, and see who's the best fit, within reason. This is $10,000. It's a very common salary range amount, right? So they've done that. They don't just offer people a job at the bottom of the range, right? So how is a moving salary range worse or different than a moving fee target, right? Now, the answer is that it is actually worse, right? Same concept. All we're saying, just like your salary range, is yes, this, could cost more through us. And again, I say could, not necessarily, right? But it might cost more through us. And I'm just saying, just like you're not going to hire a $40,000 person that's the exact same as a $33,000 person, see your people and then you decide. You'll be happy that you paid $40,000, even though your range was $30,000, if that's the one that you wanted. Our fee, though, is a one-time gig where they pay it and they're done. They pay it and they are done, right? But what happens with a salary? With a salary, they're going to pay that $40,000. They're going to pay that extra $10,000 plus pay charges and benefit charges of, let's say, 35 or 40% every year, right? Plus, this person's going to get their 3 to 5% increase on that extra $10,000 for their raise every year. So at a $10,000 difference, if a person lasts on average 3 years, they're going to be paying maybe $40,000, $50,000 for that decision. We're looking at an extra $6,000 in fee one time, right? Or whatever the number is. That helps to get them look at this a little differently, okay? Again, I'm spitting out a lot just so you get it, so you see how insane they are, and then you can craft this, and I am telling you, I use this on a desk all of the time, and you'll be shocked at what you're able to get, because once they think about it, once someone educated enough like you on this call who get this, start explaining it, they're going to realize that it completely makes sense to at least see your one or two best people. So look at this slide here. So which is the higher fee? I do this all the time in my life boot camps. And I go around the room fast and I say, okay, you, John, 25 versus 20. All right, 25. You, 20 versus 15, 20. You, 30 versus 25, 30. 30 versus 30. The answer is, and again, most people in our business get this wrong. And I hope you answered it rhetorically. So which is the higher fee? The answer is, who knows, right? Who knows? How can a 20% fee be more than a 25% fee, right? Well, look, the answer is all fees are not created equal, right? When we look at fees, our clients are still in the mindset of looking at it like this absolute number, right? A fee is a fee percentage that we're talking about. Right? The only way you come up with the total fee at the end of the day, fee equals fee percentage times the salary that the candidate's going to get. So these are two variables. They're only looking at one. Right? It is possible. I'm not saying, nor will you say, that it happens all the time, but it certainly happens enough. Right? Look at this example here. Let's say in this 30 to 40 range, we would all agree, as your clients will, that salary range per se doesn't dictate experience, right? Someone might be at $30,000 because they were with a company that had salary freezes and raise freezes for the last 2 years. Or they're very cheap, but maybe they're a sexy-ish sort of company. Right? Someone else could be making $40,000 because they were overpaid or their company was very generous or they started it up, whatever it is. So it is absolutely quite possible, I'm not saying we promise it, I'm just saying it's possible, and we have seen it. You know, again, you don't have to use a $10,000 difference. I'm just using this for the math for you. But it's possible that they'll want to hire the $30,000 candidate over the $40,000 candidate, and you've all seen that. So at a 30% fee, if it just happened that we came up with a $30,000 person, that would be a $9,000 fee. Yet this cheaper agency that you're working with, at 25%, their candidate at $40,000 is going to be a $10,000 fee. They're going to be more expensive. Look, my point here, okay, is that we don't promise. I get some people say, Neil, I'm not going to be able to promise that I'm going to find someone lower. That seems like we're misleading them. No, we're not at all. We don't promise that we'll be cheaper. We just let them know that it happens, and there's no way that we can know right now. We're not even going to try to find someone cheap. We're going to try to find them the best person. But when they analyze it, a fee percentage is just a percentage. They're only going to know when they gather the information and when they analyze the information and then they make the decision. Because wouldn't it be real easy, right, if it's all done now? Let's say they agree to us, and what if? Again, so now our candidate's at $33,000 at 30%. So it's a $9,900 fee, and theirs is at $38,000, right? At 25%. The fees are virtually equal. It's now a $5,000 spread. Okay, just meet the people, and then you find out, absolutely add our price tag to it, which we know is more than the job board, which we know is much more than your free candidate. All, again, we're saying is you can't just look at a fee irrespective, because anything can happen. That's the point. Anything can happen. And again, I gave the example that we know that this can happen because salary just isn't an indicator. Again, guys, we don't promise that we're going to do it, just that the final fee to you is going to be based on a whole bunch of things, and you're only going to know that when you end up meeting the people. So just like you have the salary range, see our people. Remember, Mr. Client, at the end of the day, you're going to come back to me and say, Neil, I'm glad I saw your person because we want to hire them. And you're going to be thrilled to death that you said yes right now. Or you're going to say, you know what, it was close, but we're going with someone else. And in that case, maybe we overpriced ourselves. If we constantly do that, we'll either go out of business or we'll have to lower our fees. But right now, we can give you tons of references and everything where we provide great people. So again, a fee is not necessarily a fee. Now, when we look at this, there's only two legitimate objections that happen in this whole thing. Only two. And one I've already alluded to a bunch of times, and that's wasting their time, right? That's the only objection they have because they're never going to pay more unless they want to. They'll never hire a person, ever. So they'll either be happy that they agreed or they were right. You know, they're not going to end up using our person, so they ended up interviewing 2 or 3 people or one person. So that's when you could talk about the benefits of benchmarking, but it's the only way to make a business decision. At least then, they would have had a lot more info through one of the best search firms, that's you, also that they can deal with, right? And you can let them know the same old things that you always covered for not wasting their time. So I'm not going to flood you with resumes. I'm not going to be a paper mill. In fact, once we do this, I'll narrow it down. You give your whole spiel. My 100 people, the researcher will work on it. I'll come back. I'm going to call the top 20. I'm going to narrow it down. If we get 3, I'll present the top 3 to you. That's it. Or top 2. Or if they don't buy it, say, listen, I'll just present you with one person for you to interview. It's not going to waste your time. And believe me, they're going to be good. Right? So you can easily cover the wasting their time, but that is the only objection that they can have. The other one, I just said only, but the other one, believe it or not, and this is a weird one, the objection that they will have is they don't want to waste your time. Now, as a salesperson, that probably strikes you as weird because we all know it's, what's in it for me when we sell, right, i.e. what's in it for them, and why the hell do they care about wasting our time? I will tell you from experience that they actually care. Because when they're going through this, they're thinking, yeah, okay, now I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to do everything in my power not to hire your people. Yeah, but that's the last thing I'm going to do, and I know I'm going to end up finding some good people from a lower fee. Well, we know that once they meet the person, yes?
Neil, hi, it's Patty. We are, for some reason, you are coming across a little garbled, and I'm not sure, but we were getting notices from people that it's coming across a little garbled. Are you sensing anything on your end?
No, the whole time?
More so just recently.
Am I coming garbled to you?
A little bit.
All right, want to just pause the recording? I'll dial back in to be safe. I'm still garbled?
Right now you don't seem to be. How about...
All right, if I do pause me, is it too late for you to set me up with voice over IP so I can use my headset?
You want to try it again? Just keep going here? I seem to be okay right now.
Okay, well, just interrupt me if it's a problem there. Okay?
Okay, sounds great.
Okay? Okay. So, again, it just seems counterintuitive, but I've seen time and again the final hook often for me to get these people to do it would be to let them know, look, also, don't worry about wasting my time, okay? I know you're going to do everything in your power not to hire my people. I know you want to do everything you can to save money. I know you'll do everything you can to try to get a person off the job board, cheaper agency. I get all that. You should do that. That's the right thing to do. Don't worry about me working for free. Don't worry about me taking the weekend. This is what we do. This is what I do. And often that would have to be the last thing I would do to let them go, all right, well, if you're fine with that, all right, I'll see your person. So kind of highlight that in your notes because that will really help. But these are the only 2 legitimate objections that they'll have. And we already dealt with the first one and the second one. You need to let them know that you agree with them. And you do, because that's what you'd be doing. If you're an owner out there, you completely get it. If you're an owner, I still suggest when you're looking for salespeople or recruiters that you use agencies for the same reason. Because, gee, what if you found that someone was coming with a great book of business, right? Then they clearly justify it. Okay, so we can move on here and say, well, now, if you still don't have them, or different ways that you want to explain this, is just tell some stories. Tell stories about other situations. I use, and I'll give you 2. The way I actually learned this, long story short, and don't worry, we have plenty of time to get through all this in the next 20, 25 minutes, is I was in New York City. I was looking for an apartment. The way New York works, which is the way most places work for renters, is the renter pays the fee. And you can use as many agents as you want. And, it's 1.5 months of rent for your fee. So somehow, and I went through, whatever I could find for all my free resources. I had a bunch of apartments lined up. Somehow, a bunch of brokers got my name. I guess the way they do it is they either work with people, doormen, and they pass them the leads, or they look at people that registered, when you come to the building and you're going on a tour or whatever it is. But in any event, I got 3 phone calls from agents. and they each wanted me to go ahead and work with them, and they'll set me up with some of their premium apartments. Well, the first two struck out because I wanted to save money. I wasn't going to pay a fee, and they each gave me the equivalent of what most recruiters give. Don't worry, you only pay us if you end up, taking one of our apartments, and nothing compelling. And being a recruiter that heard this all the time, hell no, I wasn't going to give in to that. The third guy, and I swear to you, this is a true story. The third guy was brilliant, and he basically gave me the clothes that I'm showing you. And he's like, look, I get it, bro. I don't think he said bro, but I get it. It's expensive. Last thing you want to do is pay an extra month and a half, but look at it this way, okay? We have access, A, to things that you're not going to get from others, even if you're working with any of the brokers, no. If I was, he would still say, look, but we get access to certain apartments they don't. So see theirs, see ours, and then you make the assessment. So he was going against the freebie. And he said, look, do everything in your power to get it for free. I do, you would, of course you want to do that. I don't blame you. I'm in the same boat. But listen, all I'm going to do is set you up with a handful of apartments, okay? Is a handful of apartments. So why don't you take a look. Don't worry about wasting my time. I know you're only going to end up taking one if you want to. And he gave me the same clothes. Neil, think about it, if you want to. Meaning it'll come down to the fact that you've seen all your free places, you saw mine, and maybe you don't want mine. You got nothing to lose but a little time, and you could compare what's out there. But you might decide that, wow, look at this. I want this guy's apartment that he just had. Maybe it's cheaper, could be cheaper, and then you could easily justify the fee. Maybe it has other amenities, but you'll be the boss. Anyway, I don't want to go through it because it was verbatim what I just shared with you, and right after that I just paraphrased it. It was completely brilliant because he made me feel like a jackass for not realizing that sooner. And at the same two things, don't worry about wasting my time, Neil. I'm a real estate broker. That's what we do. Okay, I'm happy to show it to you. We'll have a relationship in the long term anyway. Don't sweat it. No obligation whatsoever. And look, I'm obviously not going to waste your time because you're going to see some, good apartments that will help you make even a more educated decision. So long story short, that's about the closest business I've seen to contingency that exists out there. Now, normally I'll ask, okay, guys, give me other contingency businesses. And you want to know what people mention all the time? All right, well, the legal industry works on contingency. Our recruiters say that. The contingent legal industry has nothing like our contingency business. But because the words are the same, recruiters think it's similar. So I guarantee you that if recruiters think that way, certainly your clients do. Why isn't it the same? Yes. The legal industry, there's tons of lawyers and attorneys that work on contingency, right? That means you only pay them if they win your case. However, you need to select that attorney up front. You do need to negotiate fees with them. All things being equal, if you win $1 million in your settlement from all three of them, you'd rather pay 20% of your settlement than 30% or 40%, right? But we allow them in our business to work with several attorneys, if you will, at the same time. We're allowing them, and you should use this example, we are allowing them to basically, it's the same thing as having 3 different attorneys try your case with 3 different juries. Now, if that were the case and they actually allowed that, what would you do? If you found someone that sounded really good, and their contingency legal rate is 30% of the outcome, and you're also working with someone at 20, would you just say no? I mean, if you think they're good, and again, it'll only take up an hour of your time in court. We'll do the rest. You don't even have to show up. We'll use all the other, whatever. Wouldn't you use as many as the law allowed you to, 3 or 4 of them? Because you would look at the final outcome. You would say, wow, there's $1 million settlement here, but I'm paying 30%. And this other guy who's charging 20% gave me a $500,000 outcome. Guess what? I'd rather have 70% of $1 million, right, than 80% of $500,000 or $600,000 or $700,000. That's basically what we're asking them to do. Wait till you have all the information. In the case of law, that would be what the final outcome is, what your percentage is, and then what you're paying and what you're taking home. right? We have no way of knowing that now. Anything can happen. I gave you some more examples on here. Make one that's personal to you. Again, there's a ton of them out there of how that can work. So I do want to save time for some questions. A lot of objections I get in this, and I don't know where some of these come from, but this one I almost always get, well, so Neil, what about the fee agreement? So you're saying then we don't use one? No, I'm not saying you don't use a fee agreement. I'm saying the fee agreement has nothing to do with this training. If you normally use a fee agreement, use a fee agreement. I'm not saying that we say, hey, let's not talk about the fee now. Let's not agree upon a fee now. I'm not saying that. We're absolutely going to agree on what the fee is going to be now. I'm saying just make the decision of whether it was a right or a wrong one later, or whether you should or should not see my people later. That's the only time where you can know. I'm not saying see my people and then you come back to me and you decide what you want to pay. Okay? Hopefully you get that difference. That's not at all what I'm saying. So this has nothing to do with fee agreements. If you end up and they say, fine, I'll see your people at 25%, then send out your fee agreement, if you do, at 25%. I get, well, what if we don't have better people? Well, my answer is it has nothing to do with this training. You won't be making a deal regardless of your fee, so don't sweat it. You have to have someone better than the competition, always, right? And I mentioned that. Well, Neil, you know, that's good, but how do we address that all the candidates come from the same pool? Well, boy, hopefully they don't. Let's say you just use job boards and you're just think at sourcing, and you're always, you know, coming up with, you know, clients that say this person's been submitted. Like I said, I think you're going to be in trouble anyway if you're always doing that, but they all don't come from the same pool. And this is something that you want to explain to your clients. This isn't like negotiating LCD displays for their offices or office furniture. People don't have an SKU number. People are not a commodity. Sometimes they're viewed that way, but every person is different. They're not uniform. Every agency, even the great ones that you're working with, they are awesome. I think you should obviously work with them. They're a formidable opponent of ours, okay? But we get people that they don't get because it's a people business. You network. So, again, if I give you the same people, we could even have a deal. If they submit it to you and we're both submitted at the same time and they're cheaper, go with them. That's not what I'm in the business of doing. We'll set them up, okay? They can't come from the same pool. They're not Sony TVs, right, or video cameras, okay? I'll also get, almost always, Neil, what if they agree up front, right? But now that the deal's done, they say, fine, look, we want to hire your person, but I got a number two and they're cheaper. My answer is that first, you should celebrate because they want your person and you're going to end up closing the deal. This is also no different than when you didn't do this and you negotiated at your 20% fee and they came in and they gave you the same malarkey, which we've all dealt with, right? It's nothing to do with this. You're going to stand firm. It is very rare that, you know, that they will actually want to walk away from your person. You'll have to make the assessment. You could always give in if you want to. Hey, at least now you're in the game and you can decide. I usually suggest not doing it. But sometimes they're a mom and pop. I knew that they were really budget conscious. The person they're against is free. I feel I might lose it, and it's worth it for me to lock in a $10,000 fee. That's your call, but that is no different than any time someone comes in on an after-the-fact negotiation. Okay? So other closes. Look, there's a bunch out there that are awesome. Whatever you have been doing that works, as I mentioned earlier, keep on doing. The business decision close is awesome. You always need to know, even though this should not be your first step, this is good old-fashioned, you know, fee negotiation, objection rebuttal, but when you get that your fee is too high, how high too high is it? How much too much is it? Right? We want to get to what the real objection is. So if they're working with another agency and they're at 25%, let's say 20, and we want to get 25, and let's use that 30 to 40 level, that other agency is looking at a $6,000 fee, right? So we'll be looking, or yes, $30,000, and we'll be, you know, coming in at 25% of that, so $7,500. So what basically they're saying is our fee is $1,500 too much. Okay, I think the audio just came back. right? So the difference is always key, whether it's free or not, okay? With another agency, always get to the fee difference. So $1,500 is what they're talking about. You should always remember the reduction to ridiculous close. Candidates or clients, every $1,000 is $20 a week. When you're dealing with a candidate as an aside, that's before the government takes their 25 to 40%, right? So we're looking at $1,500 difference. Now, you can't just bring this up because they want to save anything. But once you mention everything else, you could then come in and say, look, let me put it to you this way. What we're really talking about is the $1,500 fee difference. Or let me even say it's a $3,000 difference using a different example. What you're really looking at is $60 a week difference of what you're going to be paying the person, which can easily be offset by a higher salary that they get. That's nothing, $60 a week, right? But again, $60 a week. So always break it down to the ridiculous. Remember that $1,000 equals $20 a week that they'll be paying. Key number for you. The benchmark close, talent scouting, I've heard some very great things. You can be very persuasive with talent scouting and how they've got nothing to lose. When you need to put it together with this close so that they can say they are nuts not to see the best talent in the marketplace, right? Third-party stories, I gave you some examples. There's an oldie but a goodie. I mean, I don't like using it verbatim, and you've heard it probably 100 times. Feel, felt, found, right? That's telling a third-party story, which I understand how you feel. Some of my best clients felt exactly the same way you felt when I first talked to them, but what they found out was X. All right, forget about feel and felt and found. It just means empathize with them, okay? I get it. You should be doing this. Absolutely. Stop this objection that they're wrong. You should be doing everything you can to save money. I get it. All my clients felt that way. I deal that way. That's the feel and the felt. But here's what my clients realized. They had everything to gain and nothing to lose. The only way they were going to pay a fee was if and only if they wanted to. And they realized that they were insane to tell me no. Now, third-party stories are great because you can actually tell them a story about how a client was nuts not to get this without insulting them and telling this client that they're nuts. You could tell them all the great things that other people learned. You should always be doing that in sales anyway, but that's how that works. Again, any close that you ever had works. Now, I've got some other things for you, and then we're going to take some questions. I do have a little bit more material. Here's my 2 minutes of commercial. If you like this, what I'm offering is a special deal for people on this webinar. I have a product on LinkedIn Maximization, which is awesome. Go to neillinkedin.com. I am telling you, if you don't think it's awesome, if you thought this was just a big commercial, I'll refund your money. I sold a ton of them at $199. I'm doing this so people get exposed to me. I'm offering, if you use the code RecruitersConnection at neillinkedin.com, you're going to get this for $49. It will change your online life. It is awesome. I'll move on from this. I've had people say, A, I can't believe the price. B, I've taken a ton of LinkedIn stuff. Neil, it's the best that's out there. You'll love it. I want you to get exposed to me, and then hopefully from this, you'll come to a boot camp or something. Please check it out. I am not making money. I sell a couple of these a day. This isn't making me bucks. But take advantage of this deal. Recruiters Connection will get you that. As I mentioned, if you haven't yet, please go to thedynamicsale.com, get free training. I have awesome stuff just like this that's free all of the time. And again, that's how I built my business. On that main page, as you go down, or you can click on the link, early bird HTML, but right in the middle of that first page, I got an early bird sign up where I give great discounts often for virtual boot camps. I got a Perm virtual boot camp that's coming up. I won't tell you any more about it. I'll actually send you guys an email on that. Let me move on. In closing, before we take some questions, just remember there are elements of negotiation here. In that I don't care if you are happy to take a 20% fee. I want you to always start at 30%, or I want you to consider raising your fees, your standard fee, to 35%. I want you to stop using the word standard fee when you negotiate. What the heck does standard mean? You remember statistics, right? Standard is basically, the number within your standard deviation. It means this is the fee, but I am flexible on it. My fee is 30%. I don't care if you've never write 30%, if you never want to write a 30% fee, if you always want to write 20% fees. I want you to do it. I want you to play this game. And, here are some tips for you. You need to know, well, the ultimate is your max fee, 35%. You need to know your rock bottom. For many of you, it's 20. And then, hey, what you hope to get. Many of you, that's 25, 26%. Always start and work hard at this ideal. Even if they first come up and say, look, I'll do it with you at 25%. Don't just say yes. Say, look, no, for the same reasons, it's still 30. Why? Because the harder you work and you play this game, the more goodwill that you're going to have, more bartering chips that you're going to have, right? It's a similar concept in customer service we learned from the great Tom Peters 2 decades ago or a decade ago, the now world-famous under-promise, over-deliver. Why? Because the perception is if we under-promise and then even deliver, they're going to be thrilled. If we under-promise and over-deliver, they're going to be super thrilled. So it's all perception. So you want to work hard at this 30% so that when you finally do give in to the 25 or the 20, let's say in your heart of hearts you know they're never going to go above 20, work it hard. Because then what you do is then when you're done, you say, look, okay, we've now been through all this. You can hang up and try to call them back, and you can do all those things. You're going to get many of them, if not most of them, this way when you get good at it. But then you come back to them, and then you say, okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to drop down to this 22%, okay? But because of that, here's what I need in exchange. And I listed you a whole bunch of things you can get. Again, in our live boot camp, we'll spend more time on it, but it could be an exclusive on an order. It could be guaranteed send-out slots. It could be the client interviewing in your office, right? It could be direct send-outs where they don't even see the resume. Okay, at least guarantee that you'll interview the 2 people that I tell you to interview, and I'll do it, right? You can get a lot in return because they are now getting perceived value. So I'm going to take questions in a minute. But again, if you make this about money, if you just start breaking it down to the ridiculous, if you only use buzzwords like contingency and benchmark, you're really going to miss the point. The point that I want you to start with and end with, the same way that I started with this webinar and I'm ending with this webinar, is they will only pay your fee what? Say it with me. If and only if they want to. Okay? Get that conviction. If you email me and you sign up for the free stuff, I'll also send you with the PowerPoint some bullet points that you can use to help you so you can post this up on your computer and get set. Remember, just sign up at thedynamicsale.com. As soon as you click your confirm link and they say you're registered, reply to your first email and say, hey, Neil, send me the stuff, okay, from the webinar today. So, Susan, Pat, do we have any questions?
You know, a lot of the questions were actually answered within your question group there, which was great. One of the questions here was another objection is wasting the candidate's time.
I never believe that you'll waste the candidate's time. I mean, how often do you actually care about that? I mean, you know, that's just you send in 4 people. If you have a job order, you have an exclusive. Aren't you sending in 3, 4, 5 people where they all compete against it? Are you worried about wasting 3 out of the 4 people's time, which is what you do? I don't see that as an issue. I don't believe that when it comes to it, when people have an emotional attachment to a candidate, which they do once they interview them, once they meet them, once they see whether they're a fit, once there's an emotional attachment, the price sensitivity becomes less, and often much less. So if they're the best candidate, $3,000 more in fee isn't going to get in the way. If it's all said and done and they come back and you really think that it would waste it because that was the be-all and end-all and you'll lose it without it, as I mentioned, you could decide to lower the fee at that point, but not going to happen. What else?
And at this point, that's really what I've got, unless anybody else has a question out there they want to put through. Neil, this is really awesome. You know, I've been in recruiting for a while, and it certainly will continue to help me as well. So thank you for taking your time today, and we appreciate everyone being with us today. Unfortunately, I do apologize. There was some garbled with Neil, but honestly, there's many people out there saying that there wasn't an issue, so I think it could have been a phone line, something. So we certainly do apologize for that, should some of you have had that. Again, Neil, thank you, and we hope you'll join us again June 10th for our next Train and Gain webinar. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Carpe diem.